And so I'm going to present to you the structure of this government that was there. The structure of this government that was sitting there at Treaty 4. And it was well organized. And they had laws of interaction, laws of agreements, and laws that dealt with the occupation of their territory and how they shared those territories. And they had peace law territories where people could go and stay and not be afraid of being attacked by anybody as long as they got into those peace law territories. And if you'll put 3 squares, this is the way I put it, because when we were looking for this in the late 60s and through the 70s, we were talking about, everybody was asking, what is Indian government? What is First Nations law and government? What is it? We had to go around, we had to dig, we had to talk to the old people. And I was one of those people. Because my father said, you have to go out there and find this out. You can't just hear it from me. And a little bit here and there, we asked the old people. Ever so reluctantly, they gave it up. And they were discouraged because nobody really wanted to lend them a ear. But here we were. Are you serious about what you're asking? Are you serious? Yes. And I remember talking to old Mushroom Lawrence Thompson and an Nakota Sioux from St. Alota. And he was a grand, wonderful old man. And he was such a speaker, awesome. He had the grasp of this English language as good as any professor I know. But at the same time, a very humble man. And sometimes very discouraged, like many of the old people as they were there. And he says, sometimes I talk all night, I think I'm just a puff of air. Nobody ever listens to what the hell I say. And if you're going to listen to me, grandson, then hear me, because I will tell you as much as I know. And that is everything that I know. And he said, yes, we had an agreement here. We had a peaceful settlement and agreement between our Cree brothers to the north and our Ojibwe brothers to the east. Yes, we had turmoil, but we found ways to live in peace. We found ways to live in peace. We knew how to settle differences between one another without going to the axe, without going to the gun. And this is called treaties. This act that we have designed was given to us by the old people in the same process that we used at the table. The only disappointment that we had at the treaty table is we didn't have any real participation. The people came and they sat down and they told us a whole bunch of things about this information that was on this piece of leather. And we sat there for 10 days and listened to them. And we had questioned, and we questioned. We questioned why those things, what they meant. And we were told that what we have now, we shall always keep, and what you will get will be on top of this. All what you have now is yours, and on top of that you'll have this. And it'll keep your people. It'll keep your people into the future. And the Great Mother from across the ocean shall protect you in all hours of need. And her children shall honor this agreement. Her children shall honor this agreement. And she will see that it should be done. Well, so far it's not been the case. Although, like the many good people who want justice, you have to keep yelling. You have to keep waving the flag. You have to keep jumping up and down. You have to keep crying in front of people. Like Stella did. She cried in front of these people. Spoke softly. But never gave up the silence. Never gave up the silence. We never gave up the silence. If you don't give up the silence, not be silent. You will take your time about that silence. Silence is powerful, and when it's spoken, there's a silence that speaks loud, and it's the silence of truth. When that speaks, when I heard that word silence, I never thought that silence could speak. But the only time that silence really speaks is when it's the truth. Because that's the only time it raises its head up. And that one, no one could put a trap, or nobody could stop that. Because it's something that comes from the Creator. So at the time of treaty, the organization that sat there was the organization that we rediscovered. When they asked, who governed? Who governed? Muslim said, the people. The people governed. I asked them, who are the people? The families. The families. And there were communities, and communities of families. And I asked him what. Then from there on, who did all the teaching? Where did they learn? Within the family began the first basis of learning. So we structured it. We began to put squares. I don't know, but maybe because we lost the use of the circle, but we put it into squares. Put 3 squares side by side, 1, 2, 3, like that. Those are the families. And if you're going to use a circle, make 3 circles, and put circles, squares all around, and a second set of circles, and another set of squares inside, and a third circle. And you'll see that this is the government structure to use. So the first basis of that government were the families. And they had their laws within that family. Each family had a distinct responsibility to the community and to the nation. And so I, as an Ojibwe person, come from the 7-clan system, and I learned that as a child. But that is not the process that we had. We kept that as an Anishinaabe people. This is what kept us together. But when in this allegiance, this was the process that was put together in order for these people to work together and live in peace. And so there was a second set of people. In our people, we have seven societies. We call them Meteo. We call them But in this process, there is more than 7. There is as many as 20 of them, maybe even more, for as many as they need. These are societies. Societies who keep the specialized learning of the community, the specialists of the community. And these people continue the learning and the education of the children past the ages of 9 and 10. And these societies are made of medicine elders, the warrior society, the mothers of the warrior society of the women, the societies of storytellers, the society of the arts, the society of as many specialized societies that we have. Some people who just work with the whole purposes of carrying out the ceremonial elders, the ceremonies, and they continue the training of the children on into the future. And they are there. These are the teaching societies, the training societies, and they are there to carry on the learning of the children. And we're talking about warrior societies. Well, to be a warrior, you had to be honorable. You had to know your responsibility to yourself. You had to have a great sense of self. You had to have a great sense of who you were and be proud of that. And you learned that within your family. And then when you had a great sense of self, then you had a great sense of community, a great sense of family, a great sense of community. When you had a great sense of community, you had a great sense of nationhood. You were proud of your nation. And you learned that early. You learned that in the womb, the old people say. And then from there on, there was the societies, and then there was this three societies, three positions of authority. And there was, in the families, go back to the families, we found out that there was a chief in every family, and they had a base of elders within that family. And then we found out also that in the societies there was a head person, a headman or a head woman. And then we found out at the end of all that there was an elders' council there, amassing all of these elders from these families, from these societies, all of these very old people who were the keepers of the knowledge, amassed over here as an elders' council. And they were known as the keepers of the law and the makers of the law. And from time to time, things needed to change. And when that need came about, these elders would bring that about. When the families needed to change, when they needed to extend their territories, they needed to make specialized relationships with each other. And they brought that up to the elders' council. The elders from the families would bring that up. And then the elders' council would introduce that to the chief and headman's council. And then over here, there was a chief and headman's council. We found out from the societies and from the families, the same as it was for the elders, there was all of these headmen, all of these chief headwomen and headmen who sat over here as chief and headman's council. So there was a council there. And there could be as many as 10, 15, 20 chiefs in that council. And there could be as many as 15, 20, even 30, even 40 elders over there sitting out here in this council. And they were the ones who legislated. They were the ones who legislated how the nation was going to work together, how they were formulating their relationships with other people, with an Akora, with the Great Sioux Nation, with the Woodlands Cree, the Great Woodland Cree Nation, with the Plains Cree, the Ojibwe people, and understanding their laws to maintain peace and harmony. The last thing is war. War is the last thing. And the only thing that war serves is, the might of one greater, that's greater military power. But it doesn't always bring peace.